This is the Crossing Bridges podcast, addressing the topics of leadership, criminal justice, and fatherhood. How can we become better leaders? Where are all the daddies? Why is crime at an all-time high? Here is your host, Bayonle Arashi.
All right, it's another beautiful episode of Crossing Bridges podcast with Bayonle Arashi. First and foremost, let me say this, that the person I have on board today, well, I can say without any missing words that he's my mentor. We connected, thank God, for social media, and he's just been a blessing to me, to a lot of other folks. And like I said, one of my early discussion with him is what gave birth to this podcast. And I'm always very excited watching his video, learning. He is one of those few that practice what he preaches by continuously doing and not just talking. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Coach Mike James to Crossing Bridges podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
Thank you so much, bro. I am doing amazing, man. And first of all, just thank you. Thank you. You talked about pretty much like how we connected. And for me, it's something about connections. You never know where it'll take you, what it'll plant, the seeds it'll plant in you, and how it'll be watered. But I appreciate you as much as you appreciate me. I appreciate you, man. And you've done so much in our journey of being connected now. I guess a little over 3 years or close to it.
Yes.
It's been awesome just seeing each other, and the things that we've been able to accomplish. And I think it's part of what we're talking about, you know what I mean? And even the podcast itself, Crossing Bridges. And I think that's one of the important things. We always hear that saying, be careful not to burn bridges. But when you connect with someone who's doing some awesome things and positive things, man, I think it's amazing to cultivate and water and flourish that relationship. So I'm going to throw it back to you and say I appreciate you for inviting me and telling me about this. I'm excited. So I'm happy to dive into it, man.
Awesome. You are one of the, like I said, someone actually taking care of some of the most important subject that personally for me, I am very passionate about. And that's the issue of leadership. I just feel when I look at the overall picture of our world today, that the biggest thing the world is lacking is leaders, genuine leaders that are willing to teach other people how to find their way in life, especially with the blessing of social media, which I also think is a curse in some way. But before we delve into that discussion, I want you to tell the listeners and the viewers of the podcast a little about you, Coach Mike James.
Thank you so much, bro. So I'll do my intro. I always do. I'm Coach Mike James. I'm a life coach, speaker, event MC, and facilitator for Certified Life Coach Institute. And my personal life's mission is to share my light, love, and positivity with as many people as I can in the time and space that I have. What does that mean? Doing things like this, connecting anywhere I can, especially with good people that's doing good things, right, in their community and in the world. I always say that you can make a difference one engagement at a time, one interaction at a time. For me, as a life coach, I say I'm changing the world one session at a time. As a speaker, I'm changing the world one engagement or event at a time. As a facilitator for Certified Life Coach Institute, I'm changing the world one class at a time. So I think it always comes back to what can I do? What can we do? So I'm a son, an uncle, I'm a husband. I'm a lot of things, but most importantly, I'm a person who's blessed to be able to live out their life's mission. And that is, again, going back to what I started with, share my light, love, and positivity. So it's a little bit about me. And I always tell people I fully invite them to connect with me. I'm Coach Mike James everywhere. And, to get more of me. And as you know, bro, my energy and my vibes and everything that I bring. So again, just excited to share.
That I watch most of your videos. I know one of them is tied to Monday Dub or Dub Monday, and yeah. when you always the excitement at which you started. I mean, people just need that energy in the world where an average teenager is depressed due to some thing they don't understand. You are into life coaching, which is a lot of people don't understand the importance of that role in the world today. The mental health that our teenagers, I'm sure you know these numbers, that the highest level of mental health patients today are between 19 and 25-year-olds. So it's a big, big challenge. I will ask you, how did you find your way into life coaching? What is your major influence, and how has it been for you practicing life coaching and speaking?
Yeah, life coaching. So one of the things too is always the start, right? The foundation. What we call the helping or giving fields would include some of those. It's many other ones, but those main ones are consulting, mentoring, counseling or therapy, and life coaching. So the giving fields or giving professions. And one of the things that happens is we're all grouped together oftentimes, which is understandable, especially if you don't know. So I always like to give a little bit of insight in what a life coach is. One of the major differences between a life coach and a therapist or a counselor is that, first of all, therapy, counseling, it's a credential, it's a licensed practice. It's education behind it. They have licensure that they got to keep up with in any state that they practice. And one of the biggest things too, they can facilitate the past as well as areas of anything that comes deeper, mental health, trauma, things that are in what we call the DSM-5. That's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders. So it's called the DSM-5. With coaches, the major difference is with coaches is more about the here and now, life coaches, the here and now and where you want to be. And we're not licensed to tackle deeper mental health issues, whether it be trauma, different things like that. So it's important to share that, because though we do work with people who may have some mental health issues, we have to know the boundaries of we're not a regulated or licensed field. Bro, we can wake up tomorrow and 1 million people can make the announcement that, hey, I'm a life coach. Get with me and I'm going to change your life, because it's not licensed or regulated. However, it is certified and credentialed. So I always encourage people, when you are looking for a life coach, make sure you check their track record in terms of their training and what's backing them, right? So what led me to it, bro, to answer that question is life. I've always been that one. I was like a lot of life coaches. They've been that one who people always went to and for advice or help and different things like that. And so I was like, well, I might as well do something I love and get paid for it, right? So coaching, I'm going to tell people, what to do and help them and encourage them. And I found out the hard way, as a life coach, is not even about that. It's about helping shine the light on some areas that maybe you're not paying attention to. Maybe giving the space and the foundation and that sound bar for you, because no one else has stopped long enough to hear you. So for those youth that you were talking about, right, that 19 to 25-year-old, now that mental health is such an impactful conversation, right? Throw into my my series, but now that it's such an impactful conversation, the words oftentimes get thrown around like dodgeball or hot potato, right? So in that space, a lot of times the youth, right, they just need to be heard. They need someone to be different than all the other authority figures out there that's telling them you can't, you should not do this. You can't do that. You're wrong. You're not this. You're not that. They just need to be heard. And so that's the biggest thing. I like to start with that foundation of that. And I was that person who had people in my life, and I know there were some gaps as well. So that's kind of what led me to life coaching and speaking. And of course, I'm a transformation coach, but also a youth coach. So I'm very passionate about the youth and the next generation, as we've talked about often.
Wow, that's a very detailed one, and I'm very happy that you mentioned and you're able to differentiate between, when it comes to the medical part of it, that is not what you do, but what a lot of people might not know actually is that you have to take care of the internal before the external comes out, and you are working on the inside, the mind, which is where everything begins. Even the Holy Book confirms it, that you should stay guard of your mind at all times, because out of it comes every issue of life. So if the internal is fixed, then it's very easy for you to just get better and not be able to go out of bound or become something that you don't want to be. That's a very good explanation. As you have said, I'm going to corroborate what you said, Coach. One of the things that inspired me to go into to start a podcast in the first place, as you already know, that I work in the criminal justice system with the state of Texas for well over 5 years now. And I will always say that I can actually tell the story for the rest of my life of what I have seen in those few years, and those few years feels like over 20 years. One of the things that made me to decide to start is the way the ones that are coming in are so young. I mean, before it used to be the older folks in their 60s, their 70s, and with various level of crimes. But these days, you see a 17-year-old and 18-year-old already incarcerated. When you put on the news, the first thing you see is somebody robbed a bank, somebody went to an ATM, and their ages are between 18, 19, and 20. And this made me to start thinking, like, how can I help? And I said, okay, maybe this podcast can be one of the avenue and other things I do. I'm talking to someone like you. So this is my next question for you, Coach. And of course, you just have to give it your own expression and your own way of seeing it. What do you think is the biggest challenge with fathers today in America? Why is it that we do not have a lot of fathers taking care of their children, especially their young sons? And how can we start getting out of this? How can we start solving this puzzle? You are already doing something by becoming a life coach, without any doubt. But how do you think we can take this away from just one community to take it across our country?
Yeah, ooh, bro. Now, a lot of times people rhetorically respond with, that's a great question, because they're thinking about the answer. But for me, I'm literally saying this and I mean it. That's an amazing question that I think is a process that we have to continue working on, but it's also a loaded question. And I'll break it down as simple and as quick as I can. When we think about that, on the one hand, right, we see the issues, right, of the fathers and this and that, right, and the issues that may, whether it's absentee fathers or fathers not stepping up to the plate, a lot of different reasons that may go behind that. Now, let's get the first thing out of the way. There are just a lot of men out there maybe that didn't have the example of what it means to be a man, a father, right? To be loving, to go beyond. There's so many stigmas and massage, different things that says this is what you have to do, this is what you have to be, or they are repeating the pattern of what they saw. So let's talk about that on the surface, right? A lot of issues that are in the community, especially in our community. It's Black History Month, so just being all the way 100 in the Black community. Now, this is my issue. And this is where I want to bring this to your audience is many times we look at, and that's why you asked me in the way you did, and I appreciate it. We look at the problem, but not the causes, not the root. We appreciate the beautiful tree when we look outside and see it. It's so beautiful, and it's a strong oak tree, but we never think about the seed that started this beautiful thing that we now see. Watch this. Now the seed. What is the seed? America. Because it's easy for me to talk about different things in the world and everything, but I can only talk most of what I experience and what I know, right? America has an issue that until the system, until America comes to grip with the harm and the things that they are continually doing to the community, many communities of, I'm saying Black people, communities of color, Black and brown, yeah, whatever. Until America comes to an heart to heart with that, I don't think we're going to see the change we want. Now, is it getting better? Possibly, because of things like this, the interactions. But here's what you and I both know, bro. We know that there are, for every bad apple out there, for every absentee father, for every father in prison, for every father that's just not there or choose not to be there, we know that even me as myself being just an uncle and a godfather, you being a father, we know that for every bad apple, there's a whole bunch of you and I out there. But guess what? They're not highlighting us. They're not throwing us on the news. They're not feeding that to our mental, our psyche. So what happens now? The focus goes on the bad. And what does that do? Now you attract more. The reticular activating system is where you get more of what you focus on.
Absolutely. I'm having chills.
If you, bro, I'm telling you, because when you reached out to me about this, I was like, I don't, you know me, I don't really take notes and stuff, but I'm always prepared to take notes from what I pick up from you. But it's certain things that I'm so passionate about, and I love when we have these conversations. So when you go to the car lot, you're so excited to get that brand new car. You say, man, nobody got this. Like, I'm excited. And the minute you drive off the lot, you make a right turn.
Seeing it.
Everybody got it.
You start seeing it automatic.
Everywhere. That's the reticular activated system. You get more of what you focus on. So guess what? Now, the trick of the enemy, the trick of media, the trick of government. Now let me go deep. The system. Here we go. Man, I wish I had my soundboard, bro. I do applause right now.
Yes.
Listen, the trick of the system and the powers that be is to keep us in the negative. How do I do that? I got to feed you more negative. And until the system says we got to have a heart to heart and really go back to the start and the purpose of every single entity that we have, I don't think we get to the place where we want to be. And now I know that was a roundabout way of saying, but I think the issues are so vast that we can point out so many different things: education, upbringing, all that, environment. But it all, I think, is a product of the seed. And the seed is hate. The seed is prejudice. The seed is racism. The seed is capitalism. Oh, let me stop, bro. Next question.
Hey, like I said, I should start mentioning it, and I am so convinced now that I did the right thing, deciding to start this podcast because before starting it, I had to do a couple of research. Who is doing what I am doing? Who is willing to listen? Not many people, or if I told there are a couple of people, because this is actually a very difficult discussion. And I know definitely that from time to time, I will start getting different perspective. The perspective you gave me today, I have never looked at it from that perspective. Even though I am aware that perspective does exist, it exists. That for every bad father, for every bad whatever you want to call it, there are good ones out there. But the fact that the system has intentionally refused to paint us, to show us those few good ones out there, so that when the kids see the good ones doing good, they can reference those. They chose to consistently show the bad ones. I think that's the summary of your response, and that is powerful. That is powerful. And you already said it. So now that we see this and that we know that this is the problem, how do you think, with the little power that we have, with the little space that we have, like you and I are in our small little space now, sharing this experience, hopefully we're going to share it with the world, how can we help ourselves further beyond this level to take that message out there? Because, as I said, leadership, fatherhood, the absence of both is what equates to our criminal justice system. How is it possible that we know that the United States has the highest amount of incarcerated person in the world? We know this, and yet we are not doing anything about it. Yet we complain about it, but we are not doing anything to fix it. What are your suggestions? Because I know that we have 30 minutes. We're already past halfway into it, but I want to pick your brain on this. What is the path you think we can take in our own little space? Let's forget about the government now. Let's forget about the system is there. It's going to be there. How can we get it better? How can we make it better beyond this podcast, beyond us reaching out to schools out there? What can we do?
Yeah, bro, like really, honestly, I think you started to talk about it right there. And one of the things is mindset, right? Mindset and perspective, and what we look at and attract. Because my 3 W's, I say the universe will align to give you what you want, will, and work for. So also the law of attraction, what you put out comes back to you once you put in the work, right?
Yes.
And so here's the big thing I'll say. I think the biggest solution is that what we're doing right now is part of it, right? Other than that, being in action, you're in action, I'm in action, and it's more of these things have to happen, and we have to speak truth to power. You mentioned something. You said with the little power that we have in spaces, we have to be able to speak truth to power when we hear something that's not quite right. When it doesn't align with right, truth, righteousness, and we hear things about, well, all black people, this, well, all black men, well, this means that, this means, no, wait a minute. We have to speak truth to power. And one of the most ultimate things we all know the golden rule as well as the highest law, to love and to treat others as you wish to be treated. And when we focus on that, when we let that resonate in our system and put that out more, I think that's how we begin the process of change. Because here's the other thing about change, bro. In our lifetime, let's say you're blessed to have 100 years in this life. In that space, we can get so frustrated with the change that we want to see, but we have to remember this. We are fighting or undoing something that's been hundreds, maybe thousands of years. So I think one of the biggest things we can do is put our feet to the ground every day and tell the enemy anything that comes against us that today I'm winning. You have no place in my life, and those around me and those that affect me, I'm going to show love. I'm going to speak truth to power. When I hear something that I know is asinine or that's not right, I'm going to speak up. And guess what? We can do it all in love. I don't have to make a scene or anything when I speak truth to power. I can say, excuse me, I heard you say something. One of my videos, bro, and I'll send it to you. One of my videos a while back, you talked about my dubs of the day. It was on MLK Day. And I shared a video about the experience I had at his museum. So I'll send that to you because that's another conversation. But we have to work those muscles. It's a muscle to be able to speak truth to power when we've always been told, do what you're told, respect authority. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that authority is always right. So I think the start is we have to start here. We have to be pure in heart so that we shine that purity, right? And we got to start where we are, because we know that each one of us, we can't change the world alone, but each one teach one. The more we connect like this, because you mentioned something, that catch-22, right? Social media, internet, all this stuff. There's the good and bad, but that's just like human polarity. There's good and bad in us. What do we choose to feed and strengthen? Because guess what? Without social media, you and I wouldn't be connected. This beautiful relationship where now we're sitting here talking on crossing bridges that can impact. And here's another thing I want to share with you, your audience. When I started my YouTube channel, I wasn't even thinking about monetization or any of that stuff. I wanted to make a difference just by sharing my light, love, and positivity. That's it. You never know. You never know who's going to see this, hear this episode, and reach out and say, Bayonle, I need you to do this or do that. That's where it starts. And we know that we're planting the seeds in fertile ground because our purpose and our mission is pure. We're not doing it for the money, the this, the that, all that. No, that's great. But we're doing it for the love, the mission, the message. That's where we start.
Wow. That's I mean, you dealt with that very strongly, and I am so thankful for your work, for you putting yourself out there, and for what you will still be doing in the next couple of years. And you said it, that thank God for the little we are doing. And one of your response to my question is we continue to do what we're doing, and that's one of the ways we can really get out there. I know we do not have a lot of time left, but I always ask these 3 questions. So I do not know how long it's going to take you to answer the 3. So I better ask you right now before we get towards the end of our 30. My first question is, which I know you already mentioned a few of them at the beginning, but I want you to answer it based on this question is, do you think leaders are born or are made?
Ooh, born or made? I think there can be a little bit of both. Because based off of experience, I think okay, here it is. I think the seed is there. It's a matter of if it's watered or squashed. In other words, that seed of leadership, I think, is something that you come out of the womb with. However, life experiences, culture, all of that, I think could either unalive it or flourish it. So that's what I will say, both. A little bit of both. I think it's in there, and anyone can be a leader, but not everyone will be a leader.
Not everyone can be a leader, but not everyone is willing to. That's a very good answer. My second question will be, what do you think makes a man?
Ooh, okay. So let me throw out, because as a coach as well and speaker, I'm a lot more open-minded than what I was raised to be. Let me say that first of all. I grew up in the southern U.S., Pentecostal preacher kid, so very strict and everything. So let me throw out the notion of the what we've always been told a man means. I'm going to say that a man means someone who accepts responsibility, steps up to the plate, and do what it is they need to do to affect anyone and everyone around them in a positive manner. And notice how I said that it had nothing to do with strength, not crying, not being able to tap into your emotion. It's just about responsibility and how you be the best person that you can be. Now, guess what? That may fit more than what we understand as a man today, but that's what I think a man is standing up for what you believe in, who you believe in, and what you want to see.
Wow. Amazing. Fantastic answer, Coach. Thank you very much. My last but not the least, I have a favorite one, and I know every leader, every coach, every man should have one as well. And I always ask this as well, that what's your favorite quote? I have a couple of them, but one of them that I always share is change is automatic, but progress is not. I always say it every time that don't worry about change. Either you think you're going to grow old or not. Day by day, you're going to grow old. But if you want to be progressive, you want to progress in any sphere of your life, you got to put in the work. So, Coach Mike, what is one of your favorite quotes of all time, and how do you use it?
Man, these questions are so good. One of my favorite quotes, and I take the credit for this because I've been saying it since high school. And I know people will say it in different ways, but my favorite quote, and I always pray every time I say this, like, man, I don't want them to sue me. My favorite quote I've been saying since high school: life is like Nike, just do it. Meaning, once you see the issue, once you know what it is you need to do, take for what I do. I'm passionate about health and fitness. And kudos to you, bro. Man, come on, man. You've been on this journey and just have transformed what you do, how you show up. Just like I know you see me, I see you. So yes, we know that if we sit on our butt and we don't do it, right now, I told you, I just got back from the gym. If we sit on our butt and don't put in the work, guess what? It's not going to happen. So the change we want to see in the world, the change we want to see in ourselves, everything that we want to happen and progress, life is like Nike, just do it.
Life is like Nike, just do it. And that just reminds me about that book written by the founder of Nike, Phil Knight. I'm sure you must have come across that book, Shoe Dog. One of the greatest books I think I own. It's a beautiful story. It's a very beautiful story. And that was just what he did. He just found something and then he went for it. So I want to say, and I don't expect anything less. I think it's been an amazing 30 minutes with you. But before you go, I want you to imagine you're sharing 30 seconds or a minute inspiration or motivational moment with a group of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that are just finishing their high school, looking for what to do for the next in their life. What would your 30 seconds, 45 second speech be for them to carry them through the next stage of their life as a parting shot?
Bro, I'll close it out like I always do. And anyone who watch my videos ever come to a speech that I do, I'm going to close out the same way. Murphy's Law, that's my 8th grade homeroom teacher. You are somebody. Today you are great. Tomorrow you'll be greater because Ms. Murphy said so, and I concur. My 3 W's, note that the universe will align to give you what you want, will, and work for in that order. My 5 P's: let your power give you a passion that will ping you to your purpose. And once you plan properly, experience prosperity. That is in all aspects of life. You can do it. Why? Because the hoodie that I wear right now, I'm the 5 C's coach. That's my first patent over there. You are capable, competent, confident, conscious, and courageous to do any and everything that you seek to do in this life and the next. So all you have to do is get up, get out, get something. And once you do, my 4 K's: keep going, keep grinding, keep showing, keep shining. And as always, know that God loves you. So do I. And I want you to love life, live love, peace. And it's always together, never apart. That's it, bro.
Wow. Thank you so much, Coach Mike James. Thank you very much. I'm sure audience, you've had it there. That was even more than I expected. So I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom. And I really hope that we'll keep connecting, we'll keep developing, we'll keep growing in this little space that we have, and continue to be the change agents that we are. Coach, before you go, what is your social media handle in case some of the listeners and viewers want to follow you and then keep sharing your work quickly?
Yeah, feel free. Connect with me everywhere, mainly IG, TikTok, and YouTube. That's where I'm really active right now, at Coach Mike James. At Coach Mike James everywhere. That's my website as well, coachmikejames.com. So Coach Mike James, look for me there. You'll pretty much find me anywhere I'm active. LinkedIn as well, at
coachmikejames.com. That's where you can find him. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Till I see you guys again next week. I mean, I've had the pleasure of having my friend, my brother, Coach Mike James, on the podcast this week. My name is Bayonle Arashi. It's been my pleasure bringing it to you, and I'll see you guys next time. Keep making difference. Have a nice day.
Thank you for listening to the Crossing Bridges podcast with Bayonle Arashi. Your comments, suggestions, and ideas are welcomed. Follow Bayonle on all social media platforms at Bayonle Arashi, or visit www.bayonlearashi.com for coaching and speaking engagements. See you next time.